Hey guys, thank you for joining myself Piyush Pandar, and today I'm gonna present you our Python week one submission assignment. Now, coming to the agenda is understanding the problem statement, solution, having a good solution approach. So here we're going to do use two solution approaches. One is brute force approach, and another one is two pointer approach. Then we're gonna see the full codes and the Python implementation, code implementation, and at last it will be the conclusion. Starting with the problem statement, here what we are given with a list of integers, and we need to find the two elements such that their absolute sum is closer to zero. For example, if the list is looks like around minus 4, 7, 6, 5, 2, minus 5. So we have iterated all possible pairs here, and we can see that the sum of minus 5 and 6 will be the closest to 0, hence the answer will be minus 5 comma 6. Now there's also some hints given that the sum can be either a positive or a negative, and the absolute distance of the sum from 0 should be considered to find the sum closest to 0. For example, if the sum includes minus 4 and 6, then the answer will be 2, that will be a positive. And if the sum includes minus 4 and 2, then the sum will be then the answer will be minus 2, which will come as a negative. After that, assume that the maximum possible sum of any two elements in this list is around 10 to the power 9. Inbuilt short may also be helpful in this problem. Coming to the section problem statement again, here you can see that there's an input format in which the list of integers are there, which is coming as input, and output format should be contain two elements with the sum closest to zero. So we have taken two sample test cases. In first test cases, you can see that it's the previous integer which is put in as minus 4, 7, 6, 2, minus 5. The output is given should become around 5 and minus 6. In the second test case, the input is given as minus 50, 34, 19, 24, 33, 10, minus 46, and minus 38, and the output should come around as minus 38 and 34. Let's take a look at the one of the two problems, one of the two approaches which we're going to be used to solve the problem. First approach is the brute force approach. In the brute force approach, what we're going to do here is the function generates all the possible pairs of elements from the list and calculates their sum and stores the absolute value of the sum in an empty dictionary along with the corresponding pair of elements. Finally, it returns the pair of the elements with minimum number of absolute sum. The steps include defining the function that finds the sum of two elements which are closest to zero, creating an empty dictionary to store the two elements along with their absolute sum, assuming that the sum of any two elements in the list is greater than 10 to the power 9, and using for loops to iterate the values in the list of summation of the two elements and sorting into dictionary. While within the loops we also compare that the sum of two elements with the minimum sum value. If the current sum of two elements is smaller, we update the minimum pair of elements. Finally, the minimum pair of elements will be returned. Now here, the data structure used are dictionary, list, tuple, set, and type of complexity is order n to the power 2. Coming to the second approach, which is a two-pointer approach. So in this approach, the list is first sorted, then the two pointers are used to the transfer the list simultaneously from both the ends. This allows us to find the pair of elements that have the sum of closest to 0. Now here, let's take the code steps. Defining the function that finds the sum of two elements which are close to 0. We then sorting the list in ascending order using an inbuilt sort function. Initializing the minimum sum with a large positive number, that is 10 to the power n, and the minimum pair as none. That so what we had said here, we put the left pointer to 0 and the right pointer is the last index for the list to be sorted. And entering a while loop with a condition that if the left pointer is less than the right pointer, we'll calculate the sum of element that at the left and the right pointer, that is the current sum, and taking the absolute value of current sum. If the value of current sum is smaller than minimum min sum, then we update the minimum sum with the absolute value of the current sum and update minimum pair with the current pair of elements. If the current sum is negative, move the left pointer to the right by incrementing by 1, otherwise move the right pointer to the left by decrementing it by 1. Finally, return the minimum pair, which represents the pair of elements with the sum closest to 0. Here, the data structure used is a list, and the time complexity comes under as order n log n. But quickly, let's take a look at the codes for both of them. So, as we already told you, that we have approached with two solutions here. One is the brute force approach, another is the two-pointer approach. In the brute force approach, we have taken defining the defining 0. We have taken the minimum sum with 10 to the power n, and we have also created taking a if case where the length of the list is less than 2, we will return an invalid output. We have taken two for loops where first one is going as the length list minus 1 for I, and for j it's uh, I plus 1 the list. Now what happening when it comes to the dash tree, so if the dash tree of the two lists is equal to absolute value, with the minimum sum will be the total lists and the minimum pair will be set to this, and it will return with the minimum pair. So here you can see in section in both inputs, while putting inputs we're getting a required value. Coming to the two pointer approach, we created a list sorting list with minimum sum 10 to the power n and minimum pair none. We have given the right section we've given the left section left with 0 and right with length of the list minus 1. So again we are putting with condition if the length of the list is less than 2, we're going to return invalid input, while we're putting another condition of while condition where length left is less than r, the current sum will be the rough the list of uh, left and r, right, and the absolute sum, and again with if condition the absolute sum is if current sum is less than minimum sum, then the minimum sum will be absolute sum's current sum, and minimum pair will be list of left and r. And if the current sum is less than 0, then we're gonna increment 1 for the left one section, or else we're gonna decrement 1 from the right section, and we're gonna return the minimum pair. So in this case as well, you can see the inputs are given and we're getting our desired output results. So coming to the conclusion here, we can say that we can solve this method with any of the problem, any of the approach, and it gives the same result. But the two pointer approach is efficient method as compared to the brute approach with respect to time complexity. Now, this comes to the end of the presentation. The video recording is being provided with the link below. Thank you so much.